Okay, we're live.
Okay, being that it's 7 o'clock, we're gonna call the town board meeting to order. The fire exits are outside that door and down at each end of the hall. And there's a defibrillator located across the hall in case one is needed. We will start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of silence for all deceased residents of Hamlin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We don't have our password to do.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Then we'll go right straight to the roll call.
Robot.
Here.
Mail, here. Boco, here. Jaeger.
Here.
Bob.
Here. Next will be public forum. If anybody wishes to speak, please go up to the podium, state your name, your address, keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes, and address the board as a whole board, not just a single person. Is there anybody who?
Yeah.
Let me get through the public hearing, then we're gonna go right to you, Pam. Is there anybody who would like to speak at this public hearing? All right, then we will close the public hearing, seeing nobody wants to speak. We will go back to our invocation then. From Rob Worthington from Emmanuel Baptist Church.
What?
No, you're fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's right. Father, we are so thankful tonight for the opportunity we have to pray, come to you, and to seek your presence. Lord, we pray for each one of these board members that as they make decisions tonight, they'll be based on that which is good for the community. And Father, we pray that you'll guide them and direct them. Give them your wisdom. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, requesting town board resolution to approve the regular town board meeting minutes of June 29, 2022.
So moved.
Second. Oh, this isn't working. Here we go. Okay. Robot.
Yes.
Mail, yes. Boco, yes. Jaeger. Bob.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to approve the payment of bills from their respective funds.
So moved. Second.
And Robot.
Yes.
Mail, yes. Boco, yes. Jaeger.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes. The supervisor's monthly report has already been given to the
I
town
got
clerk.
it right here.
Yep. Requesting town board resolution to advertise in the West Side News for a period of 2 weeks for applicants to fill the open vacancy on the planning board. Such applications to be received at the town clerk's office no later than 4 p.m. on August 8, 2022.
So moved.
Second. Robot.
Yes.
Mail, yes. Boco, yes. Jaeger.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to accept a quote from Vetland Service for a new heat pump air conditioning unit to be installed in the supervisor and finance offices in the amount of $9,750. Before anybody will have some discussion on that. We've been calling for like 2 months, trying to get people to come out and look at it and give us quotes. We've called like 4 different companies. We've gotten 2 because the air conditioner is, there isn't one in the supervisor. It's been broken for 8 years. It starts and sparks when you turn it on. The one that broke is in the finance office. They got some other things. Now these are also, I guess, umpteen years ago when the supervisor's office was, they used to be the courtroom. And when they turned into the supervisor's office, they tore one of the heaters out. So there's one heater in their heating unit. It gets cold in there. Darlene usually shutting the door because it's getting cold. she doesn't want the cold air blowing on her because that room is cold. These things are heat and air conditioning units in one. It's actually one unit's gonna take care of both places. Yes, it will be something like that one with a unit outside, except this will be, that one does nothing but air conditioning.
Right.
These can do air and heat. And it'll be one unit outside, but two things like that. We can wait and try to call some more companies and try to get it,
Is there any discussion on having it hook up for the gym too?
not at this time yet.
I'm just thinking if we had that unit getting put in, do it.
It would be a lot, you'd need a lot bigger unit for that gym because it's square footage and
Yeah.
whatever.
I know they've been looking at air conditioning for the gym for years.
Right.
That's something we could do with ARPA.
That's what I was,
Possibly, we can look into it.
I mean, would it be better to look into doing all three at the same time? Again,
I don't know if it makes much difference, to be honest, because it's gonna be a separate unit for the gym.
no matter what.
No matter what, it's gonna be a separate unit. The gym's gonna take a decent size unit.
Right, oh, yeah, right.
Because of square footage and heat and everything in there. But, and also, they told us this thing does qualify for a rebate. It can be up to $2,000, the rebate. Until we actually install it and send paperwork in, because New York State or National Grid, I forget which one, whatever, they go and give you the rebate, so we don't know, and go, be any place from 500 to 2,000. We don't know what it would be until we actually ask for it, send the paperwork in, but we'll get something that does qualify for a rebate.
So was that one the only one that you said you got two quotes?
We got two quotes. We had one from Isaac Heating also. Bettman was $9,750. Isaac Heating was $10,650. So an extra $1,000, $900.
Like the same, like, yeah, both.
Pretty much. They are, Isaac was a Mitsubishi, and this one is a Bryant. Both same guarantees, for a couple of years or whatever. The same size and everything.
I think it's worth the dinner.
I would now, if it's getting warm, right? I would now. So,
But because it's over 1,000, we gotta be a town board.
right, that's what it is. So, so,
Where would the,
No, we got questions, you're fine.
where would the funds, where would they come in?
That we haven't decided yet, whether that comes out of ARPA 2 or out of the actual, like, this building fund or for this building. Hardly anything yet. We've got a lot of ideas. The walking trail, the dividers are gonna be putting up, sign up front, yes, we have a bunch of things that we haven't bought yet, we're earmarked yet. So we'll talk about more tonight. But we can look into for the gym also. Kind of just.
Like, I mean, I think they should be treated separately. I don't know if the supervisor's office should be tied to doing the gym. I mean, every other office in here has.
No, I mean separately, but if you guys are asking that we look into something for the gym, and we can start doing it.
Yeah, we can, but I don't want that to hold up this project.
Right, because that'll be another couple months.
Correct.
To get it for the gym. To get somebody out and start getting quotes and everything. Everybody's busy right now. Yeah, so that's and I say we do not have a set price on how much money we'll get back on rebate.
right. So moved. I'll second.
Crumpet,
Yes.
Snail. Yes. Vogel. Yes. Jaeger.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes. Okay, before we go to reports, we have something else here. The tower at 100 Moscow Road. We have a representative from AT&T here tonight too, in case anybody has any questions. But I'm gonna read this resolution, and then we'll hit discussion after that. Let me get the resolution read. I just got it tonight, that's why you don't get copies, I can send you copies tomorrow or whatever. Whereas the applicant AT&T has asked for a waiver in regards to town code per 506, 6G-8 and 6V tower capacity and design, and 506, 6G-9 tower specs, in which they would like the town to waive the requirement that the future loading of additional carriers be equal to the proposed loading of their equipment at the 100 Moscow Road site, and allow the next two levels to be loaded at 8,000 pounds, and the fourth and lowest elevation to be loaded at 4,000 pounds. Whereas town law 506-5 or B.
What?
506-5 or B?
B.
B, okay, 506-B sets out. The applicant shall examine the feasibility of designing a proposed tower to accommodate future demand for at least 5 additional commercial applications. For example, future co-location. The tower shall be structurally designed to accommodate at least 5 additional antenna arrays equal to those of the applicant and located as close to the applicant's antenna as possible without causing interference. This requirement may be waived provided that the applicant in writing demonstrates that the provision of future shared uses of the tower is not technologically feasible, is commercially impracticable, or creates an unnecessary and unreasonable burden based upon, number one, the foreseeable number of FCC licenses available for the area. 2, the kind of wireless telecommunication facilities, sites, and structures proposed. 3, the number of existing and potential licenses without wireless telecommunication facilities, spaces, /sites. 4, available space on existing and improved towers, where the town board has already granted the waiver to the applicant, allowing only 3 additional carriers on a proposed tower instead of the required 5 additional antenna arrays. Whereas the applicant has submitted to the town in writing demonstrates that the provision of future shared uses of towers is not technologically feasible, is commercially impracticable, or creates an unnecessary and unreasonable burden based upon the foreseeable number of FCC licenses available for the area. 2, the kind of wireless telecommunications facilities, site and structure proposed. 3, the number of existing and potential licenses without wireless telecommunications facilities, spaces, sites. 4, available space on existing and improved towers. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Hamlin, Monroe County, New York as follows. The town board of the town of Hamlin, Monroe County, New York hereby waives the requirements that the future loading of additional carriers be equal to the proposed loading of the applicant, AT&T, equipment at the 100 Moscow Road site, and that the future loading of additional carriers are to be as follows. The next 2 levels below AT&T shall be loaded at 8,000 pounds, and the fourth and lowest elevation to be loaded at 4,000 pounds. That's the resolution. And I also have a thing from AT&T stating all their, why they want all this. They have all their reasons and everything here. I'll start out. Right now, our town hall does say, like theirs is going to be 10,000 pounds, their initial one. So right now, our town law does say 5 carriers at 10,000 pounds. We've already, back in 2015, actually made that.
It was March of 2022 that was the.
But did we also do it in 15 or no?
I think you did it in 15, but you did it again in
We
March.
did it again in March of 2022. This board actually granted 3 towers instead of the 5. or 3 carriers, I should say, I'm sorry. Because there are only so many AT&T, Verizon, there's not 5 telecommunication industries out there. So why would you need 5? The problem is, it does say in our laws that they all should be weighed the same. The tower should be structured that 5, 10,000. Now it's 3 extra, so it'll be 4 10,000 carriers on there. AT&T is trying to say that that's not reasonable. You don't need to have them all that weight. Before another carrier goes on that tower, they have to get a special use permit from us. They have to get a thing from Cheryl, the building permit. So we can stop them if they have too high or too heavy of a carrier that they want to put on. We just won't tell them, no, you can't do that. Nowadays, everything's getting lighter. New materials, new technology, things are getting lighter. I don't see why this should be a problem. But it is our law, so we have to abide by this law unless we change it tonight. Is there anything?
And the town law allows you to waive that.
The town law does allow us to waive it.
So that it has to be brought before you. They have to give you the reason why. And you put in your letter, and I don't remember off the top of it, that your load is because of special, what you're putting on it in the.
Right, so Matt Fitzgerald from Phillips Lytle and Matt with AT&T. So AT&T's network deployment is unique to AT&T, right? So our needs at our proposed tower height are unique to us. So we know that our loadout is going to be 10,000 pounds at this RAD center. The town law, the town code provides that that's what you use as the base to measure all of the other future carriers. But that's more or less arbitrary because there's no reason to believe that Verizon, for example, who occupies 2 nearby towers at higher heights, is going to ever want or need any position on this tower, let alone one at 10,000 pounds worth of loading. And as the supervisor indicated, really in the area right now, you only have AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile now that they've merged, and maybe Dish when they continue their build out. So you're only ever going to have 4 carriers, all of which are either already on surrounding towers or in the example of Verizon are in superior spots on surrounding towers. I can go into as much or as little detail as the board wants, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. But the request here is just that the town board clarify its waiver. There was some confusion on behalf of the applicant when reading the CMS letter laying out what the waiver was that CMS was recommending in approval. The aim here is just to clarify, we're going to provide for 3 additional carriers at a different loading. There is a specific waiver provision in the town code that allows you to do that. That's specific to this application in this instance. And then there's even a catch-all provision, code section 506-31. That's a broader waiver that actually gives the town board the authority to waive any or all, in part or in whole, any portion of the town's wireless communications ordinance. So we're just asking that the town board exercise that authority, and then we'd be in a position to pull a building permit and start construction. Otherwise, we face significant delays, ordering a new tower, significant additional costs, presumably significant additional review, all of which would be chargeable to AT&T as the applicant.
And they have supplied the plans to Cheryl, and they have gone to CMS for their engineer's review. It's structurally sound for what they proposed.
That's what I was going to ask. If you have sent to CMS or their engineers that it's structurally sound for those weights you're proposing.
Absolutely. We've got a signed and sealed structural analysis from an engineer. The tower itself is actually specifically ordered for this loading. So it's going to be built specific to the loading, including the additional loading that we're proposing. So it's not like, normally the concern is you've got an existing tower, you want to come in and slap new equipment on it that nobody ever thought of putting on there. Here we're ordering a fresh tower from Sabre, a tower manufacturing company, specific for AT&T's loading. And to your point, yes, absolutely, it's structurally sound. And in addition, for what it's worth, there are pretty significant setbacks here from all adjacent property lines. Even if there were any concerns with respect to the structural integrity of the tower, which there are not, the setbacks also help to ensure that there's no health or safety issue with respect to any of the residents of the town.
AT&T owns the tower, right?
Right, AT&T has a land lease and then will own and operate the tower.
And then, so any revenue coming in from, another spot on the tower would be going to AT&T?
Yeah, so that's how AT&T would recoup some of its expenditures here, because in designing the tower for 3 additional carriers, there's additional costs incurred. It's got to be more
So if
substantial
it's not
tower.
big enough to support another, the only person you're hurting is
yourself.
Exactly.
yourself. So-
And that's part of the concern here is what we're trying to mitigate is if we did 3 additional carriers at 10,000 pounds each, and Verizon comes along and says, yeah, we'd love that lowest spot at 2,000 pounds, we're out the cost it took to reinforce the tower for the extra 8,000 pounds. And if ever anyone came in and said, we want more loading, you can't support us on this tower, they could apply for a modification to the tower, at which time, along with anyone else who wanted to go on this tower, would come back to the town for review. The classic deliverable that would have to be submitted to the town, to the building department, to CMS for review, would be a structural analysis showing here's what we're actually proposing to put on this as-built tower. Here's how you can know it's safe, and that'll be reviewed by the town as consultants at that time. So certainly I don't think there's any argument here that there's any health or safety risk with respect to the town or any members of the citizens. And to that point, AT&T's tower, obviously we have an incentive to ensure that it's leasable but not overbuilt, considering the economics.
Can I ask you 2 questions? How many years is your land lease?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't negotiate the lease. Typically, and I'm going to speak just in generalities here, the industry standard is usually to have 5-year terms and then to have a certain number of automatic renewal terms after that. So anywhere between 25 and 50 years. That's just because for your benefit as well as the benefit of the board, the investment's pretty significant, so you want the tower to be there for a long time. You don't want to be in a position where you're there for 2 years and you get kicked out by the landlord. Nobody wins in that scenario because then we're right back here applying for a new tower.
And my other question is, do you have any potential tenants yet for any of the arrays?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't be involved in those negotiations, so I wouldn't know. Once the tower, sometimes carriers will band together, usually when they're working with a tower design company to fill a hole. Here, AT&T is the sole applicant for this that I'm aware of at this time. If there's discussions going on behind the scenes with the markets, I just wouldn't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
There's no safety concerns, and it's not gonna limit, I mean, like you said, you're only hurting yourself, that's my question, are you gonna limit the number of other carriers by doing this? If that doesn't benefit you or not?
Right, realistically, we don't think so, no. And if it ever came up that it was limiting us, they could apply for a modification to the tower, and the cost would be figured out at that time internally between AT&T and that applicant.
At one time, CMS was saying that soil, did you ever get the soil studies?
So that was a part, so that was a part of the foundation design that was submitted from Sabre. All of that was submitted to CMS and no.
I know at one time she said they didn't get it yet.
Yeah, so when we originally, when we were last before the board a couple of months ago, we've requested timing waivers because until we know that the board is going to give us the zoning approval for the site, it doesn't usually make sense to get the soil studies, the tower design foundation reports, things like that. So since you last saw me, all those were ordered, and that's why it's taken so long, because those are pretty lengthy deliverables to order. Ordered, reviewed internally, submitted to CMS, comments received, responded to, and now we're here.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Robust.
Yes.
Nail. Yes. Boko. Yes. Yeager.
Yes.
Yes. And like I said, I can get all your copies of this, we just received it, so I can forward it on. So we're good with the tower.
I hope, we should be, that should be all set.
Is there any other resolution anybody has from highway superintendent? All right, let's go to reports then.
Okay, so the summer reading program is kicked off at the library. They had Magic Joe, who I guess is pretty entertaining, and I'm sure he does magic. They had, a great turnout. They had a tie-dye center where people could do their own tie-dye. That drew a lot of people. We've already had 130 people sign up for the summer reading program. They turn in their reading minutes and they get gifts and prizes and things like that, which is actually donated by the Friends of the Library. They're offering 2 adult programs on Medicare 101 and also learning about assistive listening devices from the Hearing Loss of America. The Flyings program is working out great. They've received no late book. We only did that Flyings program for the kids, so that's good. We're not losing any money over there. I think it's interesting. So year to date, we've had 1,077 people on the program count for people who use the library. So that's a lot of people, like 9,000, I think. Over 1,000 people we know participate. And for the dog shelter, we had 16 calls, and we currently have 2 dogs.
What's that? Okay. Councilperson Vocal.
Okay, zoning board of appeals, there was a public hearing for closed Howell Drive for chickens. They would like 6 chickens on 0.17 acres. There was one person in full support, one person with one neighbor with a couple concerns, wind, critters, crop dust, cleanliness. It was approved 5-year conditional approval with a waste management plan in place. There was a couple agenda items. The public hearing was scheduled for 3599 Brick Schoolhouse Road, again, for chickens, 0.53 acres. I don't know if we're going to see this more and more because the cost of, realistically the cost of eggs, and that's what, the concerns when people come in and want these chickens. That's one of the things they mentioned. So that.
Are they new families? It's normally when you move out here, everybody wants that. Like that.
Yeah, no, these 2 aren't, anyhow. And there was one last month and they weren't a new family either. So that public hearing is scheduled. There was for Hamlin Center Road, someone came in who would like to put an addition to an existing garage. That there will be side setback, 6-foot variance for a side setback. That'll be on this month's agenda. That's the one he was on Hamlin Center. He's going to use he cut down all his old ash trees and he can all recondition the old ash trees for his addition. Cool. And then down on Summer Haven, another public hearing scheduled for a fence on the front waterside yard. So that'll be a public hearing this month. There was a coastal erosion hazard area permit down on Shore Acres for a generator. Public hearing scheduled for Brick Schoolhouse Road for a fence. That'll be on this month. Public hearing. And there was some discussion for Mary's on Roosevelt Highway. They wanted to put up a new sign, and after some discussion, they don't need a variance. They're going to add it to the bottom of an existing sign, so they only needed a permit. The History Center, so I kind of touched base about this at the last meeting. We were kind of questioning whether we wanted to move forward with an application for a society versus a committee. If you do the application for the society, you have to either own the collection or have an intent to own the collection of all of the materials down at the History Center. So currently the town owns the collection. So I just wanted to get an idea of if the board thought it was okay for the society to own the collection, otherwise it's not worth going forward with that application.
I guess I need more information on how that all works, because then what happens, say the society, and I'm all for society, don't get me wrong. Say it ends though in 10 years, then what happens to the
I
collection?
think we would just turn it back over to the town.
And if you start a society or whatever, say you do, say charges or whatever, then if you do unincorporate or whatever, those charges, do they fall back to the town?
For the liability.
Liabilities or whatever, or?
What's the valuation of the collection?
Right.
And so if they turn it back over to the town, it would, the town would assume the liabilities at that time.
So they would have to have the liability, so let's say, for any kind of insurance on all the property.
They own it, they'd have to insure it, to make sure that everything gets destroyed.
And how would they pay?
I thought it would be covered under the town's insurance for the building.
That's gonna be my question, is that the building is gonna be turned over to the society also,
No,
or
I
just the
don't,
content?
no, I think
The
the
contract, so you would be a renter, the society would be a renter, and they don't have to charge rent. But just like any renter, you have to have renter's insurance, to ensure your items. The society is gonna be its own individual identity, it's not gonna be part of the town.
That's what, I don't, like I said, I'm all for society, I just don't understand what all the legal and what everything is about it. I think we need to get more information about it, how it runs and what it all entails and everything.
So it has a board, it has its own treasurer, secretary, board members. So you sent an email asking Norm about setting up accounts. I didn't know if the town could assume those accounts or if he didn't go forward with the society. So, you know, if someone passes away and wants to donate money to the history center, what would happen to that right now? Where would it go?
I don't know if the town already has a history center, line on your, budget.
I mean, we support, the town pays for the history center, but what happens when it becomes, you know, as far as the fuel, heat, utilities and all that, we pay for the historian. What happens, and this is stuff I don't know either, what happens when the society takes over? Do you keep on paying for a historian? Do you not have a historian anymore?
Right.
Is he part of the society?
That's something we'd have to look at.
Yeah,
I think the town would still have their historian, and they could just support the society. I don't know, we'll have to look at that.
Well, that's, you know, that's true, we need to get more information about this stuff. You know, and as far as setting up an account, would they have to be they're gonna be, the society's gonna be an actual separate thing.
Right, so if someone.
So it's gotta be a 501c3 or whatever, and then the town,
They would have their own bank
they
account.
would have their own bank account, their own treasurer.
Right. And there are 503Cs that partner with the town now, Friends of Hamlin Rec, the Friends of the Library. You know, as you're forming the historical society, maybe reach out to them and say, how do you handle your account?
Yeah.
What do you set up? How do you deal with donations coming in? Because it would potentially be the same thing across all of them.
Right. But if we don't go forward with the society, if someone does donate money to, you know, leave something in their will to the history center, then what would happen to that?
If it's owned by the town, then I think you might have to open up an account. Right now, there is an account. Somebody did pass away, and they left like $10,000 to the history center for genealogy, and we spent only like about 1,000 of it. We cannot touch it for anything else.
Right, and you would do the same thing as somebody else. So, you can specifically devise what you want the money to be used for. And obviously, this person said genealogy. So, or you just say, I'm leaving $10,000 for the history center. The town would have to set up that, and they would use it. The town board would have to, make resolutions as how that money is spent for the history center.
Just like we do the dog.
I was
Right,
just gonna say,
yeah,
just like the dog.
Because that is actually owned by the town, the dog shelter, it's not some separate thing, it's owned by the town, so that's how we're gonna be doing that. But, like you say, then, anytime you wanna spend money, just like he does, you gotta do a resolution, you gotta come to the town, you gotta be at this one. So, yeah, I mean, if you do a society, it'd be a 501c3 or whatever, and if you don't, it would be, the town could probably set up the account, even though the state doesn't like it. What else are you supposed to do?
Right.
Because it's owned by, it would still be owned by the town if a committee was doing it.
Well, even as a committee, you don't have to be a 501c3. You can apply for a tax ID status.
Right.
Get your taxes waived by being a nonprofit organization identified by the IRS. You don't have to be a 503c to set up a donation account. You can do it as any kind of committee. So that's how I would recommend doing any kind of donation account. Just I would have them donate, obviously, instead of to the History Center, to the Historical Committee and handle it that way. That's why then you're all set with the IRS and you keep the donation part away from the town.
I have to check into that, only because of.
I would have checked into it, I'm not quite sure, but I mean, it's some, you know,
How the VFW does
it's something you gotta look into.
some of their organizations.
But I bet.
Yeah, there's town board is for it, I mean,
Yeah.
it's how you
But
handle
we just
everything.
don't wanna spend all this time and energy filling out the application to become a society if we're not, we have to either own the collection or have an intent. So if that's not gonna be,
I mean, I would personally like to know what is the collection.
that's
I
the
have
thing.
no idea.
Yes, nobody does. There's no records. That's part of the goal of the committee right now, the committee,
Right.
is to get a good listing of what's down there, catalog it, you know, go through stuff, make some lists. I think that's part of the process. There is nothing to list like that. So,
That would have to be done before.
That would be the first step.
Before the decision.
Right.
I mean, that's gonna take years. You know, that's not, I don't think that's an easy, there's boxes and stuff. I mean, that's gonna take quite some time.
We got one bathroom.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing either, right? I mean, you identify a collection, you determine its valuation, that gets signed over, or an intent to sign it over to the Historical Society. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You just have to start with something, right? It doesn't have to be years down the road. You can say, we're gonna identify and catalog this collection, this particular collection. The town assigns it to the Historical Society. And then going forward, you know, kind of piecemeal it all and do the thing.
So I think it's all one collection right now. Are you saying like divide it up into like, I don't know, more items versus clothing versus?
Something that makes sense, that it, you know, it's little chunks that they can actually put your hands around and put a timeline around and deal with
To get started.
to get started, so that you
And
can
just
move
add to
forward.
Right, but our history doesn't end with what's there now, and history goes on, we have, you know, I don't want to say famous people here, we have some historical people here, that sooner or later we would want to document, right, and that kind of.
I mean, has the committee talked to anybody like Greece Historical or Ogden's or whatever? Parma?
But they're a little different. They're completely separate. They own their own buildings, you know, I think. So they're like separate from the
Right.
town entirely.
None of us, and I know you're taking the lead on this, but none of us have ever even thought about a society, so I don't know how it's run. A lot of, we need a lot more information, I guess.
So what information do you need?
How to run it or whatever and everything like that, how the town actually hands over certain stuff. Can you piecemeal it, or is it one big lump sum and that's it?
I think also the liability clause, insurance should be a question. Then you would have to have some revenue, have a Dave?
I guess, committee versus society. But like I said, that you may be able to find out more too from talking, like, I know all the towns around us, Clarkson has one, Ogden has one, Greece. Maybe ask them the difference between a committee and a society and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Well, the committee doesn't have to have all the board members, they're not
Right.
a 501(c)(3), they wouldn't have to have a treasurer or bank account, it's more just a committee, we could do our thing down there, and the only reason we wanted to be a society was for access to more grant money.
Right.
But, I don't know, in looking at it, I thought, because we are on the National Register of Historic Places currently, that already opens up for grant money. So if it's not worth all the time and effort to become a society, we could just fall back on grants through being on the National Registry and stay a committee. And if the town, there's too much
And you could always
with the collection and turning it
stay a
over.
committee, work forward, stay a committee, work forward, build cataloging and everything, and then if you, the option's always there to be a society, right?
Right, I mean, I don't think the committee really necessarily had any desire to own the collection, it's just one of the regulations set forward in order to become a society.
They talk this among organizations, the programs and.
Yeah, I saw,
Kind of they pay for it.
I saw our attorney was writing things down, so I'm thinking she's gonna be getting some information for us all.
It has a nice ring to it. I mean, that's,
No, like I say, stay a committee, keep going as a committee and get Freddie catalog and more and everything, and then down the road, maybe become a society.
when you get lawyers up, society don't become one, so you never do that.
Okay, anything else?
No, I got this, this is a nice stuff, so I would give this to you. Spectrum, it's to the town historian, but it's saying they're canceling our complimentary cable TV service, but the address
Yes.
of the account is here at the town hall. So,
They
and they want their equipment back, I have no idea what
They
that is.
canceled everybody. All the towns, highway departments used to, our highway department got canceled. It used to be in the contract when we set up the cable franchise fee and all that, when we let them come into our town, 20 years ago, whatever it was. That was in the contract with them that the town got free cable. That is all ended. Across all of Monroe County, I don't know, across New York State, I don't know, everybody in Monroe County, they have canceled it, so. Do you have cable over there then? You don't even have cable over there. All right.
No, because the service address is here at the town hall.
We all know about it, yeah.
Okay.
We've been dealing with it. Everybody in Monroe County got that same letter. Must be going broke.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, councilperson Mayo.
We have our town end of summer day scheduled for August 27th. The kid day will be, the kid event will be out back of the town hall from 11 to 4. And then we will have a band playing at the fire department, beginning at 8 o'clock. There's no update from the conservation board. Ambulance, there was 94 calls for June. Year to date, there's 557. And we are beginning to plan a winter fest for the third weekend in December.
And I talked to the state also, I've been just waiting for a new rec to come on, and then she and I are gonna go down. Our new recreation director, myself, and I've already talked to Kate, the manager down at the state park, about a winter fest down there possibly. That all three of us put our heads together and everything, and just gets going, and maybe even more stuff down there that we can use the park
That
for.
would be nice.
So, when she'll be here next Monday, and then we'll let her get her feet wet, and then shortly after that, I'll make a meeting with the state park down here, and let's see if maybe we can have some kind of a different festival down there also, besides the Winter Fest.
Yeah, it's an unused time in the park. It would be great to be able to bring in some business and some people and, you know, kind of partake in the natural beauty that happens at this park.
Good.
All right, Hamlin, Morton, Walker Fire District, we had 262 calls here today. Jerry Clement was present there and wanted to make a comment that I just wanted to share with everybody here. The district gave them the use of the van. They had a wellness conference in Rochester, which they invite people who lost loved ones in the line of fire duty. And so Hamlin support gave a van to take people from the airport to this conference. And there was a lot of people that expressed their appreciation because they didn't have to worry about rides, and it was very well received by the whole community for Hamlin's part in doing that. And Walker Fire Department, they've got their clam tent up at the Hilton Carnival, July 13th to the 16th. And they have renovations that are going on at the Walker Fire Hall. Those renovations are on schedule. That takes care of that. Planning Board, there was a public hearing for Next Era Energy, 1764 Walker Lake on Trail Road for a commercial large-scale solar facility. And then that was approved with some conditions stipulated in that, dealing with concerns as far as noise and construction concerns there. But they ended up approving that. There was a conservation corridor development permit for 6544 Shore Acres. Those people were a no-show. That has been rescheduled for next month's meeting. And then preliminary and final single subdivision for 307 Drake Road, and they scheduled a public hearing for August 1st on that. That's what I got. Planning Board, Farmland Protection Plan. Steve and Norm filled out some paperwork we had to satisfy the grant for Albany. I believe that's all been sent back, right?
Yes.
I had talked with Ag and Markets, and it'll probably be at least October before we see our grant money and can really take the road with that as far as getting a consultant. In the meantime, I'm hoping next month to get our committee together and just let everybody know where we're at and try and get some ideas on what they'd like to see as we move forward. So that's my plan with that. That's all I got.
Okay. Highway Superintendent.
July's been very busy. Once again, Monroe County's been to release their projects until the end of June. So July and August are a very busy month trying to help everybody with their county work to keep our revenue coming in. Been working on mowing off our drainage ditches, mowing our bridges for visibility. Hopefully we will be milling our housing track roads on Wednesday for repaving on the last week of July. Getting our roads chip sealed the last week of July, first week of August. And starting on the playground in the Huntington Park because all that equipment has shown up. And hopefully working on Joel's exercise now.
Thank you so much.
That is my report.
I really appreciate it. Code enforcement officer.
Okay, the office issued 38 permits since last town board meeting on June 13th. We received the permit fee cost a little over $2,000 and brought the valuation up of areas in Hamlin over $281,000. We issued 7 certificate certificate of occupancy and or certificate of compliances. I had 294 phone calls into the office, a busy month for the phone. And, sent out 17 violation notices for complaints like junk vehicles, unlicensed vehicles, outdoor storage of junk, lawn mowing, and running a business without permission. And that's it.
Kelly, correct it?
We also have been very busy. We filed the final roll as of July 1st. We're inventorying all of the exemptions to make sure we have everything all on file and accurate in case we're audited. We have 3 veterans who we still have not received applications back from that were missing. I sent out a second letter last week to them. 3 isn't bad considering we sent out like 60 letters. So we'll give it another month, then we'll send another letter. I just started working on my agricultural exemption. So we have 299 agricultural exemptions, 260 in district, 39 out of district. I have 6 ag buildings, 1 orchard and 1 vineyard, and I believe I have 4 migrant housing that I am getting all up to date. The eggs are going to be a huge project. I talked to Monroe County Soil and Water today, and I'm working with Jacob there, and he is going to send me a breakdown of all of the parcels in Hamlin, wetlands, woodlands, so I can break down everybody's land correctly. This is a little bit separate than my egg project I'm doing, but that also has to be done. So he's working with me on that. I talked to him about, I'm going to request new soil group worksheets. I have very old soil group worksheets here, and I know it's costly, and I have some farmers, maybe 9 or 10 farmers who have 10, 15, 20 parcels. I'm going to request new worksheets for very old worksheets that I have, because soils do change. You know, I talked about that today. It's like soils absolutely change, so the numbers could change when I redo the eggs on all of these. So there's 3 components for an ag exemption. There's the application, there is the soil group worksheet, and then there is the lease agreement. So obviously, if they're a known farmer, there's no lease agreement. If the landowner that leases their land, then I need a lease agreement. I have none of those. I need to get all those done. So this is going to be a project that we have started on. Letters will be going out. It's probably going to take me a few months, but in the time of doing all this, I'll be meeting with the farmers and the landowners. They'll be coming in. We'll be going over everything. I'm also going to start data collecting. So we need updated pictures of all of the homes in Hamlin. They're supposed to be updated every 6 years. We're going to start doing that. So we're going to get a letter together. And in the letter, I'm going to let the residents know I will be out taking pictures with Jeanette. I'm also going to send out an inventory data mailer in this letter asking for residents to fill it out and get it back to me regarding their inventory and their house, their improvements, and so forth. Regardless of where we are with the reassessment project, this stuff has to get done. So it should have been getting done all along. Once it's done, with the permits, it'll be updated, and we just keep going. You know, every few years, every 6 years, we redo the pictures. Well, we are constantly updating inventory. So we'll be out on the road. So you'll see us. I talked to Mike already about borrowing a truck. So that way it's identified as Town of Hamlin. So in case people ask what I'm doing. You know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the waterfront yet. I have a few different ideas, but I have to get on the water to get those pictures because that's what's considered the front of the houses when it comes to waterfront. So it's either going to be by boat I'm taking pictures or it's going to be by drone. Or we can hire somebody, an outside company, but I'm going to find out exactly how many parcels and the cost each way. So it's all got to be updated. So I can't go on their property to do that, obviously. So that's the only way it's gonna get done. Trying to think what else I got.
How often do the soil maps have to be updated, or should they be updated?
You know, I asked Jacob that today, and I said, you know, can you help us out at all? Because like I said, I have farmers, it's gonna be a big cost. And he said, no, we can't give them a break. He says, but, he says, every time there are reassessment projects, and if you're doing the entire town, towns do come in and redo all of the soil maps. You know, I feel bad about that, but it's been years here. So if I can take a map, say, you know, and I actually talked to my state rep this morning about this too, because I'm like, you know, can I pick a date and cut it off there? So say anything from 2000 going forward, I'll use anything older than 2000, I want a new map. I can do that if I want. You know, I just want to be consistent in whatever I do to make it fair. You know, and they gotta get done. So, and I did do it up there, I redid all of them up there, and I know it was costly to some of my farmers, but they understood, because it did benefit them too. Once you redo the soils, it can benefit it, because if your soils have changed, so there's 3 categories of your soils, good, normal, and poor. So when I do the exemption and put it in, it's based on where that soil falls, with how much you're gonna get of an exemption. I mean, their exemptions are huge. So, I mean, they have to understand this is really important, you know, if you want it done right. So, I haven't picked a date yet, I gotta think about it. You know, I have some that are super, super old, 70s, they should have been redone. I mean, that's 50 years old.
Are you gonna start with the oldest ones?
No, I'm going
Or
alphabetical.
just all of them?
I'm going alphabetical. And then what I'm doing is I have 3 different letters that are going out. I have letters for the people I have no applications for. I have letters for lease agreements. Like I said, they have to be updated every 5 years. I don't have hardly any of those. And the soil map, a letter will go out explaining, you know, I think they'll understand.
Yeah, communication is key.
I agree. And I know they may not like it, but they'll understand it once I explain it, I think, and hopefully it won't get done again with the soil map. So if another reassessment's done in 4 years, let's just say when you decide to do it and then you do another one in 4 years, soil maps don't have to be updated then. They should be updated, I would say every 10 to 20 years maybe, but not 50, 40 years, that's just way too long.
Piggybacking on that, as far as, the letters that you're gonna put for data collection, maybe a copy of that could be put on the Facebook page and on the town's website also.
I'll send my letter to Maureen and see for approval, make sure it's okay before it goes out to the residents. You know, but I do gotta get the pictures. I have some people that won't let me take pictures if I can't see their house. Sometimes they'll call me and they'll say, can I take a picture and send it to you? Absolutely. You know, I have no problem if they don't wanna let me in their driveway. So, with the pictures, that's the I get up to. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Town clerk, hey Joe, you wanna show something or?
Oh, this is, part of our new bench that the town got from the Lions Club plastic collection. The second one has been ordered, and we're working now on the third, so keep bringing in your plastic stones. That's what it'll look like.
That's just the back.
Yeah, there's more to it. It just came today. Yeah, we don't have much going, working on the junk jamboree and cruising going on at the end of this month. That's about it.
Okay. All right. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff here. I have fun. I'm gonna go right to the discussion topics probably, because it's kind of like stuff I've also been working on here, so it's part of the report. I guess first off, I want to say to Councilperson Mayo that I didn't mean to cut you out. I said me and the recreation director are going to meet with the state. I'll also try to, since you are our director, culture committee person, we were also have you down there.
All right, good.
I didn't mean to
No, you're fine.
leave you out of the
I didn't
discussion,
take it that way at all.
because we'll get all four of us together, to see if we can get something going with the state park. Okay. Besides that, cemetery pricing. I did give you guys paperwork, it was a couple months ago, and we never did it. Do any of you remember what it was, or, I mean, it was a significant bump in the prices. I mean, like lot sales went from $3,600 to $5,600, $2,000. And maybe that's where we should be. I'm not arguing that point. I just don't know, like even interment for the adult is $700 versus $450. Should we move these prices up more slowly than one great big and gradual instead of doing one great big jump? I'm not objecting that our prices are low and should go up. Should we have a more gradual, like this year jump it up some, next year jump it up instead of, $600 at a crack? Should we go up $100 or so this year, another $100 next year?
And well, I mean, everything's going up so quickly now anyway, I think, yeah, for something like this. I mean, we could do a gradual, like a rate.
Like say the superintendent, the highway superintendent is in charge of the cemetery. And he brought this up, he went and did a study and brought these up, and like I say, I'm not saying that these prices don't need to be increased. That we haven't increased them in years and probably not keeping up with the times. Myself personally, I would rather do it a little bit gradual, like $100 or $150 this year, $100 or $150 next year, whatever. Just do a gradual increase instead of
Stay with it. Step it up over the course of 2 years.
something like that. Yeah. Get the prices up there, but maybe like over 3 years. Like I say that just for a lot, the sale price is $2,000 different. For a plot, a lot is 8 plots. There are 8 bodies in a lot. A plot is just one space for one cell. But that's from $450 to $700, so that's $250. So I mean, do you like? I'll take that like over 3 years. Jump up to these prices over 3 years incrementally. Does that sound reasonable, Highway Superintendent?
I mean, it's up to you, obviously, it's up to you guys whether you set the price. The town of Sweden made the same jump last year because they realized the same thing. They're way behind. These aren't something that someone comes and buys one today and one tomorrow and one the next day and says, oh, the town of Hamlin jacks the prices up. And that money's really brought in for the maintenance of the cemetery. When Berger Funeral Homes called me, they said, do you have an updated price sheet? Because the last one we have is 2012. No, those are the prices we have. Because you're way behind the times, you need to look at it. I don't know. So, it's up to you guys how you want to do it. I'm not,
I never realized that, like I thought there was a committee for like Moscow Road Cemetery that charges all that.
Moscow Road is way behind the times too, if you look at their prices.
But that's not part of this. Is that right?
No,
Okay.
this is just our cemetery.
No, this outside the one over at 18, the town has to care because that committee went bankrupt.
Okay, no.
So by state law, the town has to take over a bankrupt cemetery.
I know that I paid $800, 12 years ago for my mother's plot. My mother in Park. That was 12 years ago, $800.
Like I say, we're at 450 now. We're at 450 now. Got it for 700 for
We bury people frequently, sales. I haven't sold anything, so I don't know when you've sold
that one
anything.
lady. She wanted 8 plots.
She hasn't,
It never happened.
nothing has come to pass.
We sold a couple. When I was highway superintendent, in the 12 years, I probably didn't sell 3 different plots.
So you could pump it up now and you never know the difference.
I mean, nobody's gonna know, and you're granted, if you look at bigger cemeteries, or if you go to Holy Sepulchre, the prices are way up there. Obviously, we're not Holy Sepulchre. We don't have the need for the revenue to maintain what Holy Sepulchre does. But if we're bringing revenue in to mow the grass and, you know,
Those costs have gone
make
up.
improvements, those costs have all gone up, but our charges haven't gone up.
Do you have an idea what the overall maintenance yearly cost is?
I don't, because it's really hard to divide out what the parks guys are maintaining that cemetery. The highway guys perform all the burials. That never gets separated out and billed out to the cemetery for their time. Like I say, the mowing guys, if they spend 3-4 hours every week over there, as an average, certainly in the spring, it's more. Come summer, things slow down, it's a little less, but that's an average. It's really hard to say because it's so mixed in with other things. Is it right? Yeah, probably right to start dividing it out and having a true, especially if we're doing this and we're saying it's to make up for those maintenance costs, we should know what they are.
Right.
Yes. You know, one of the things I'd like to do is finish the driveway loop in there. It's not a great cemetery to come and have a burial and park on the side of Route 18. During the summer, there's grass areas that we've always gotten them around, but there's a few things to do over there. The little building needs work. Steve and I have known it's needed an overhead door for years. You can hardly get into the building. There's things that need to be done.
On that location, I'd say
We'll just pull the Band-Aid and.
yeah, bump the prices up where they should be.
Yeah.
For that far behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be a
So
discussion.
we don't need the official vote, we can just, I don't believe, do I need a resolution?
No, you guys set your pricing, that's one of those, like, you do the building permits the first of the year. That's something you do in your annual meeting,
Organizational meeting.
your organizational meeting, yeah.
Okay. So, we'll do that with the budget then, and set our prices and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good, all right. Then we'll just do it all at once. We'll do it during, our budget hearings and just get our prices back up for the beginning of next year. All right, sounds good. History center we already talked about. Bids related to the Hamlin Lakeshore Sewer District. Bids were opened up last Thursday. We came in with all the prices for MRB and archaeological fees. We came in $221,639 over. And there will probably still be, I wouldn't, diving in maybe, there's still probably be a couple more prices in there, so. I would not see that going over $250. Since we're this far along already, if it was a year earlier and there's still a whole bunch of stuff, but we're getting done, so I don't see it going over $250. I am trying to get a meeting together right now with how we're gonna finance this week. I'm hoping right now it's possibly Wednesday, I hope. But we're gonna try to move fast on it, but we need to know how we're gonna finance this extra possible $250,000. Right now, like I said, right now it's $221,639. But we have options. We have ARPA funds. We can donate. The town can do a goodwill gesture. Tell the people, all right, it is your sewers. You do some, but maybe we'll donate $100,000 to it out of the ARPA funds to bring it down to, so it's only $121,000 or whatever. The option two would be the town pays for the whole thing. Option three is the residents pay for the whole thing. And option four is we don't pay for it, the residents don't want it, and we nix this whole thing, which would be really not smart. This is a once in a lifetime loan, and we've already got money that the town's gonna have to pay back to the federal government if we nix this whole thing. So that is the worst outcome, that would be, because you'll never see this again, and then FEMA, or not FEMA, EPA will come. The EPA and the DEP will come. I've met with them down in the lakefront. And then the town won't be there won't be any grants, and they will force the people, you want to keep this, you're gonna do something all on your own, it's gonna cost $1,000 a year, or else they're gonna have to put some fancy leach field in that's gonna cost Lord knows how much money. I myself, and I'm just giving my opinion, the ARPA funds, I don't want to use all of it for down. I don't want to pay for the whole thing. I think the people should pay for some. I'm not against putting $100 grand or something like that down to the lakefront. It's part of the ARPA fund is for the whole town. We can definitely use some of it for down on the lake shore. That's my opinion, but we can go to more, but I want Maureen to kind of explain to us what do we gotta do for even say like the 120,000, what are we gonna do for like,
what's the process?
We have to revise the bond resolution. So what will happen is you'll have to have another public hearing to let the, people know down there that this is a problem, and we need to fund this additional money. And this is how we're proposing it. So they right now are paying $71 extra a year in their taxes for the bonding of this money. It's probably going to go up. Maybe they pay $90 a year for the additional. But that's what we do is we revise the bond resolution to include that you can get a bigger bond. We would have to have a public hearing, which you would set a special town board meeting directly after the public hearing so that we can set the resolution for the bond to be revised. That is subject to the permissive referendum again. So we've got to wait that time period, that 30-day time period. And then we have to do a new bond resolution, which we would do after that 30-day period.
Okay, so my question is that we're talking like 60 days, because by the time you give notice, have the public hearing, the 30-day permissive referendum, and then these, what's the
bids are good for 60 days.
Right, and what they did in Parma is they asked them to hold them just a little longer, the bids a little longer because of this additional work that they had, and they all agreed to it. The builder or the people who put the bids in all agreed to it.
Okay. Yeah, so we gotta get on it. If we're gonna do something, we gotta get.
And
That's why I'm trying to get the meeting this week with our bond, Donegan is our bond people. I'll get Maureen, our engineers and myself to be there to see what we wanted to do so we can get this ball rolling quickly.
Because we would have the meeting this week, the next board meeting, you make the resolution to have the public hearing, the special town board after you get it, in the paper, and we get it going as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need like a extension of 30 days on these bids then.
Yeah,
I don't think.
because we set the time, we don't need that long, because we set the time frame out for Paramount. We did it out, and we knew we needed an extra 10 days or extra 20 days, and they agreed to it.
I don't have a problem myself with using some of the ARPA funds, but I think they've got to pick up some of this cost. It's not the town's service for scarcity. That's my own.
That's the budget for the whole town.
if we're pushing this fast, that's what I wanted you guys to do, let me know what I have to tell Don again this week, if we have this meeting Wednesday. Too, because then they're gonna come up with the facts and figures, I don't know all about the interest rates and everything.
I mean, I think it's pretty generous to donate $100,000.
Well, the ARPA fund is for the whole town, I don't mind using some of that for, we can legally do it, it's all. I don't mind using some of that ARPA fund, the Lake Shore is part of the town, so we'll use some of the ARPA funds to help offset this price. I mean, yeah, if the DC didn't hold us up like 6 months with permits and everything, could we have gotten in earlier, maybe the price would have been lower, yeah, but you're not gonna cry over spilt milk now.
Right.
And COVID didn't do anybody any favors, really.
No, COVID held us up, it was terrible. And that stopped everything, working with the state, they're still not back to work with the state, right?
What do we have in our book?
919,000.
Does that have to be spent by a certain? Or is it?
Yes, 2025, yes. We cannot spend it all this year. We have to
spend some of it.
We have to spend some of it, right, we cannot spend it all next year either. We
How much?
have to stay below a certain limit, otherwise there's a whole bunch of, we could spend it all at once. There's a whole bunch of paperwork, like, it would be weeks of paperwork, just if you spend it all at once, or hardly any paperwork, just spend it in two different, or slowly.
What do we have to spend?
We have to stay under 700,000. So like if we only got 900,000, we can do like 500 and 400. We can also do, we have some of it earmarked for different projects around town. The walking trail, our petition for the COVID. Maybe even some new playground equipment, we can use it for that, trying to get people out and about. If we want to put a couple extra playground equipment out there in the playground, that can be used for that to get people out exercising or whatever, in the outdoors. It can be used on road work, which we had planned on doing with the cost of blacktop this year. We're gonna have to cut down on road work, just because your gas, blacktop's made out of fuel. So we're gonna have to use some of that to keep up fixing roads in town, but at least fixing roads is for everybody who owns a car in this town. They're gonna drive on the road. So we're kind of doing for the whole town. Amongst other little projects that we will see and can use it. Projects will probably pop up that I don't even know about. Something for senior citizens,
Who knows the Scout Park?
Yeah, who knows the Scout Park, who knows senior citizens, something for them maybe, we can use it for that. This is where I'm taking all your, because we are gonna have, probably, hopefully to have this meeting in less than 2 days. I wanna get prices set, that means keep moving forward, bond prices set. If it's 250,000, that actually we have to do, if the town goes half, 125,000, I would still go with that amount. I just don't think we should do the whole thing.
Right,
I think people should incur some of the costs down there.
I personally think we should keep it right around 100.
Well, even if it's 221, that'd be 110 each person, in good faith, I don't know. We'll see, and I wanna talk to Don again and see where interest rates are and everything, that's gonna jack things up, because your interest rates are all going up.
They, the current was at, 5.5 and 6. With the interest rates that they were, yeah.
Because this is being addition onto the old one, so that's gonna jack up the old one. We have not sealed or whatever. We have not closed the old one because we anticipated this happening. So we didn't close it because then the town would have ate, no matter what, the town would have ate the whole cost if we had closed the old one. Whether we had the money or not, we would have ate that cost. So I mean, the interest rates will, it could jump up a little bit because of interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you say that we would have to redo the bond hearing if, cause everyone was told that the vacant lots were half an EDU and then they got filled for a full? Would this be a time where we could incorporate that into this public hearing?
Fortunately, that would raise the prices on the full EDUs even more. I mean, I don't think that should be redone. I mean, you would see pretty good increase on the full EDUs at that point.
I don't think it would be
Not
that,
just the bond increase.
I don't think it would be significant. I'm just wondering if that's what was.
It could be done in this,
first
in this
time
public
around.
hearing, yes, so if that's what the board wants to
It
do.
could be done, yes, it could be done in public hearing.
I mean, it's not gonna be popular information anyway.
Right.
Right, so it could
No.
be, it doesn't,
I'd like to stick it to one single subject myself. Stay at the, I mean, that's,
right, I mean,
to me, that's water under the bridge. I'd like to take care of what's in front of us.
I don't know, I think it's righting a wrong that was done. I think now if we have the opportunity to do it, it would be the right thing to do. That's my opinion.
But that can be added on later on, and that's for the public hearing and everything. Right now,
It'll be at the public hearing, right
that
now.
would be at the public hearing, so that's not even part of what we have to do this week.
Absolutely. We
So
have
that's
to
what I
get
guess
done.
is what I'm asking, is the consensus of this board for what we have to do this week, because I gotta get Donnie going with prices. Our bond people.
we just need an amount.
Yeah,
I think, you know, I agree with Angel, I think $100,000.
I need an amount to give to Donnie and to say, okay, the town's gonna donate this, so the rest, we're gonna put down there, what is that to them? So yeah, that's what I need to
Yeah,
know.
right, that's right.
I would support that.
So we got, you say 100,000,
Yeah,
not half, 100,000.
100,000.
You're saying 100,000, you're saying 100,000, it's 300,000, one and a half. If I said half, the three of the 100,000, take the, so we would tell Donegan 100,000. So it'd be 3 against 2, it'd still be a quorum for this, so.
Right.
What does Garmin do?
They didn't put any money in. The residents paid for, they up the bond, that, and I think, now that I think about it, about 650,000 in their bond resolution was up.
Farmers was at least double what ours was gonna be.
Yeah.
We came in better than what, we, for some reason, on the same size project, we came in at better prices than what Farmers did. We were lucky. But yeah, Farmers came in a lot higher, and the people are having to put the whole bill.
Yep, they're not donating any money towards it.
I think it's right we should donate some, I don't know, myself personally.
I mean, I think that's fair, and that's how it should be explained, as well as towns that do any, like donate anything, we're giving $100,000.
Okay. Let's say there's 3 of you, I said I would have gone up to half, but even that, we put 3 to 2, so that's what I would tell Donegan, that the 3 is 100,000. That's okay, that's fine, and that's 100,000 less than what the people have, than what they have decided, so I hope they see that helps, and
Well, I mean, there's always gonna be,
I think they will, they see the price of gas and everything else going up, things are just going up.
yeah.
Next discussion, one last thing, I think, unless there's anything else. The website. We have, everybody kind of saw it here. a while ago, but I want to start moving on this again because flyers have been putting out around here. So we're having time to do other stuff now. To set up the website, they're saying $4,020. It might be extra that once they get everything, once we get, it's gonna depend on each office or each department, how much they want on their website, how much these people have to get, how much work they have to do to get the website set up. Norm said to authorize $12,000. I think it's gonna be less than 10. But I guess authorize 12, and if we only spend 9, then we spend 9.
Yeah, so 4,020 will be the original price to set up and convert what we have. I've talked to each of the department heads and said, you know, start thinking about what do residents come in and ask for? What is your most thought out paperwork? What can we get up there to kind of get the information out to the residents easier? And, you know, kind of do some social media tie-ins, kind of have the website a little more fluid, updating the calendar. So some of that's gonna come in additionally after the base price of 4020, although, you know, I'm with Steva. It should be less than 10 grand to set it all up and get it operational, and we're looking at a 45-day turnaround.
And some of it too is when people are when they're buying real estate or new families, they go on the town's website, see the town offers, and people coming in from out of town. So hopefully it would give us a nice picture of our, you know, all the stuff we have here, right? You know,
Yes, and we can put so much more on this website, like even anything with the fire department or whatever, all the different things happening around town.
You think just the initial setup and what's the maintenance?
So the main,
What was
right. So typically we pay a fee of, I think, $1,200 a year for CAS to manage the current website. I know most of the departments don't do their own updates, because of the hard of updating. It's a pain in the neck to be able to even work with the website as it is currently or any of that. There will be it'll be put on a review kind of thing for security updates, and stuff like that. Unfortunately, really hard to gauge security updates, but I did ask for kind of a price on maybe what a different municipality is doing right now, and that came in about $750 a year. So,
And this site also will have, right now, Katie Jo is pretty much, or her office is pretty much the one updating it. Each department up here can update their own site. Like, especially with recreation, they do so much with the kids here. They can update their own site.
once it gets up and going?
Once it's up and running,
Every department will be responsible for that.
highway department can have their own site. They can update their own site. Code enforcement, assessor, they'll all be administrators.
Okay.
I mean, the clerk's office would still probably be the main administrator, like for putting, like, newsletter stuff in there, like
Public notice.
public notice and everything like that. They would still be the people, but each department can update their own department stuff. So that would be, like, right now they can't, so that would be a huge difference for anything that they want to do. The history center could have something and update themselves.
and we will own this page. It'll be the town of Hamlin operating asset. And there'll be a $300 charge to host it, and we're out on the cloud, so approximately $1,000 to maintain.
We're paying at least that.
Yeah,
right now. We're paying over that right now, actually.
So,
Right now, it's tough to break out because BAS also does dog licensing and stuff. And they're license.
Yep.
So there's a couple of things that they'll probably still do, it's just our webpage we're at through right now. Everybody has complained about this, and it is terrible. We need to do something, and this site seems to be one of the best, better looking ones, easier to work with.
And you met with different companies.
I did. Yep, 3 companies.
Were they
Patty
all
Jo.
priced around the same? Did you get
No.
quotes from all of them?
No. So websites are a little different. You can't price apples to apples to apples, right? Because everybody kind of builds and develops their own, thought process and ideas and projects around websites. So it's very difficult to compare the apples to apples to apples when you're looking at them. The other 2 websites were significantly higher than this one.
If I remember, they were
One
like,
was 36K, and I think one was
yeah,
18.
they were like $10,000-$15,000 higher than what this one is.
Yeah, everybody's comfortable with that.
So doesn't rec already have like a whole separate program that they have to do all the registrations through? Like, is that something that they could eventually use our website for?
Unfortunately, no, because that's storing private data, and we do not want private data stored like credit cards or
That's why we
personal
also,
information on
Microsoft
site.
licensing is separate, you know, all
That's
the
a
rec programs.
whole nother liability that we do not want to be a part of.
So they'll still have to maintain that.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to say that, be it, we will still have them for dog license, be marriage license, because it's private information. This is just solely for our website. It needs to be updated, needs to be more modern and user-friendly, so people in town can, yeah, that's right.
You'll be able to search the minutes for certain keywords.
There's the look of it, too.
Right.
You want to
Yeah.
look like what your town is, you get the water from, and agriculture, like all that.
Right.
People kayaking, I mean, just something that, right, what people see it looks like, when you look at some of these websites, they're beautiful.
Hamlin's Facebook picture isn't even taken from Hamlin. So, I mean, we gotta get back to our roots and back to our community and bring our pictures back local of Hamlin.
And like Mike can put stuff on there, people have questions about culvert pipes or something, information like that, Cheryl, code enforcement. People can, if you can put code rules and stuff on this website, so that people don't have to sit there, they can go on the website and find the code rules and everything now, for putting a fence up or whatever.
Do I need a building permit to roof my house?
Right, right. All stuff like that. Assessor, whatever, you know, they'll be, she can put information on there for those people that they could find out instead of asking questions or whatever. We need a resolution to spend this kind of money, yes, we do. I'll make the resolution to, is that the name of it, let's say it's true.
No, that's, yeah, that's.
To authorize to spend up to $12,000 on the town of Hamlin new website through TrueBank.
With initial bill price.
With initial bill price of $4,020.
Make our budget. It's possible, Norm is looking into it, to see if it qualifies.
Because we say we put COVID information on that.
Right. Anything that we find out front, like people who don't
Right.
have.
Anything communication related, I think. But
Yes, we'll check, right, yes.
Second. Who first?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, he made a motion.
Well, I read them all, to request a town board resolution, that's all right.
Now, Probert,
yes.
Snail,
Yes.
Volkel, Yeager.
Yes.
Yes. Any other discussion for tonight? I don't have anything else.